Welcome to the ISASA Pension Scheme and Provident Fund, where our members are the heartbeat of the fund. If you die before you retire from the fund, your dependents and/or nominees will receive a death benefit. Your benefit is paid out in accordance with the rules of the fund you belong to. If you are a Provident Fund or Pension Part 2 member, you will receive a taxable lump sum, multiple of your annual salary based on your age at date of your death, plus a refund of your accumulated credit. For the relevant multiple tables, please refer to the member guide on the fund website or speak to your bursar. Pension Scheme Part 1 member dependents will receive a cash lump sum and a monthly pension. A spouse's pension of 50% of the pension the member would have received at the normal retirement age based on annual pensionable salary at date of death may be payable. Children's pension of a third of the spouse's pension for each child, maximum 3 children, until the child becomes of age. The fund is managed by a board of trustees who are responsible for the management of the fund. Although the trustees will follow your wishes in terms of your nomination of beneficiary form as far as possible, the final decision of who will receive the death benefit rests with the trustees, who are required in terms of the Pension Funds Act to ensure that all dependents are considered. The trustees urge you to complete a nomination of beneficiary form to identify all your dependents and thereafter to update it annually or when your circumstances change. Please ask your bursar for a copy of the form. The Pension Funds Act stipulates that if a fund cannot trace any dependents of a deceased member within 12 months, then the death benefit must be paid to the nominees as specified on the nomination form. However, in the event that there are dependents and nominees, a fund must allocate the death benefit or portion thereof to such dependent or nominee in such proportions as the board may deem equitable. This fair distribution of members' death benefits is one of the most challenging tasks facing the trustees. A dependent is a member's spouse, child, or any other person who was in fact dependent on the member, or a person whom the member would have been legally liable to maintain in the future had he or she been alive. A nominee is someone who the member nominated on their beneficiary nomination form to receive a portion of their benefit. They may also be a dependent, but not always. The fund follows a 4-step process in order to pay death benefits. Step 1. The trustees try to identify everyone who depended on the member for financial support, as well as anyone else who was legally dependent on the deceased member and any other dependents. The fund does, however, consider everyone that the member has listed on their beneficiary nomination form. If there are other people who relied on support from the member and were not listed on the beneficiary forms, then the fund may need to wait for up to 12 months before sharing out the death benefit to allow time for these dependents to come forward. The fund relies on the member's employer, on colleagues, on family, and friends to help to identify everyone who relied financially on the member. It really speeds up the process once the fund is sure they know about all the potential dependents. Step 2. We need to understand how each person relied financially on the member and how they were related to the member. We need all kinds of information like ID documents, marriage and birth certificates, a copy of the member's will, the beneficiary nomination form, and financial details about dependents who wish to be considered. The completed death claim forms and the supporting sworn affidavits are needed. Step 3. The fund shares out the benefit fairly and reasonably to the people who were actually dependent on the member for support and who would have been dependent on the deceased in future. We do consider the member's written wishes, the beneficiary nomination form, but we sometimes need to act differently to obey the law. This may also mean that we can't always follow cultural or religious traditions. Step 4. Finally, we are in a position to pay out the death benefit. Usually, we pay each person's share of the benefit into their own bank account. However, if the benefit is for a child, we may put that money into a special beneficiary fund so that it can be paid out monthly or annually to the guardian to take care of the child. Remember, we have to deduct tax where applicable from the benefit paid to each person. We provide a benefit payment letter to each person together with a copy of the relevant tax form. If any of the dependents or nominees have tax issues with SARS or don't have a tax number, it may delay the payment of the benefit. You need to make sure that the amount of cover for death provided through the fund is right for you and your family. If you feel it may not be adequate, you may want to buy additional cover outside the fund. Payment of death benefits may take a long time. Make sure that your spouse will have access to funds during this period. Speak to an approved financial advisor to assist you with your financial planning. Please contact the fund if you need any additional information.